Hello and welcome to the Education Redefined webcast series, where I uncover educational best practices and share success stories with every single episode. Go ahead, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite drink and enjoy a few moments talking about teaching and learning with me. Hi, my name is Sandy Alakhanpal and I am your host for this series. Subscribe to our webcast or look out for new episodes on YouTube. Join our Facebook group for the latest trends in the field of education. In this episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Samantha Varadarajan. Samantha serves as the director of the Dallas branch International Dyslexia Association. Samantha has worked in public education, serving in several roles, including reading interventionist, English as a second language coordinator, dyslexia interventionist, ESL interventionist, and lead dyslexia evaluator. Samantha privately provides therapy to students who struggle with reading and writing and enjoys being able to see the significant growth students make in reading and writing from a one-on-one setting. Samantha values making learning accessible and engaging for all learners. She is a Wilson certified dyslexia practitioner and certified academic language therapist. Samantha is certified in Multisensory Teaching Approach through Southern Methodist University's Learning Therapy program. She graduated from the University of Minnesota with a BS in Business and Marketing Education, where she served as the president of the College of Education and Human Development, and later as a board member for the University of Minnesota Alumni Society. She holds a Master of Arts in Teaching from Hamline University. In this episode, Samantha talks about the Dallas branch of International Dyslexia Association. She highlights the history and mission behind the Dallas branch IDA, how to get involved with Dallas IDA, the art contest, Dallas Dyslexia Information Group. She talks about student and teacher resources that are available through the Dallas IDA branch, as well as discusses scholarships in depth. She also talks about the Excellence in Education Awards, volunteer opportunities, membership benefits, and much more. Last but not the least, I want to highlight the 2022 Regional Conference, Literacy Leads the Way, featuring Dr. Tracy Whedon as the keynote speaker. You can find the link to the conference in the show notes. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Samantha. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Education Redefined. I'm so excited to have you on my episode today talking about dyslexia.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And you are deeply involved with the International Dyslexia Association Dallas chapter. So I am really intrigued by what got you involved and what calls you to this mission. Can we just start with that? Because I'm really excited to hear about that.
Sure. So I was actually an ESL teacher and an ESL interventionist and coordinator here in the Dallas area. And what I kept seeing with students is that they were having these reading difficulties that were not being solved from reading intervention and from specific curriculum that targets reading intervention. And so I started to learn more about dyslexia, and that's where I just have become so involved, where I was able to finish my certified academic language therapy credential at Southern Methodist University here in Dallas. And then I've worked for Dallas ISD as a dyslexia interventionist and an evaluator. And then now I'm working with the Dallas branch International Dyslexia Association, and I'm on the board of directors for that branch. And our branch is an all volunteer board. So we have a great group of people from not only just the Dallas area, but also Oklahoma and some other areas in Texas, as well as Arkansas.
Oh,
So
wow.
the term Dallas is actually very misleading. So we service several zip codes throughout our region, and it's been great being involved with this branch and doing the work that the Dallas IDA does is fantastic.
Awesome. Yes, and there's a lot of unique things that you offer for teachers, parents, and students, and I want to get into that. Can you briefly tell me about the history and mission behind the IDA? There's a national chapter, obviously, there are local chapters, but there's a national, international district. What's the history and mission behind this organization?
Yeah, so the mission with the organization is really to advocate and educate and support, whether it's students, parents, teachers, educators. And so as part of IDA, we spread awareness. It might mean legislation. It might mean continuing to be aware of up-to-date research, because IDA is very in the know on the science behind dyslexia and the brain, and kind of makes decisions based off of very up-to-date research, which I appreciate about this organization. And so it's really neat because IDA National, it has been around for over 72 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And our Dallas branch is almost 50 years old. So it's really crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. When I looked that up, I was shocked to hear, how far this dated back. And right now the national branch has this mission to, in order to commemorate IDA's 70th anniversary, they are hoping to train 7,000 teachers,
Oh, wow.
educate 70,000 children, and support 700,000 families. So
Oh, wow.
their mission and the work that the IDA National organization does, and then also our Dallas branch, we support them as well. And it's great as far as reaching out to the community and supporting with awareness and spreading awareness about dyslexia and reading difficulties.
Right, right. I'm going to digress a little bit from my script over here. A lot of teachers feel the pain that you voiced, right? As it being in the classroom and not being prepared to
Mm-hmm.
service our kids who come with learning disabilities or dyslexia, because they have such unique needs, and they're bright kids.
Yep.
What, in your opinion, is the biggest gap between, a new teacher stepping into a role and having all the intentions, and a lot of teachers spend hours doing research on their free time trying to service these kids. What do you think is the biggest gap in our education or educator prep courses to prepare these teachers for the classroom for learning differences?
One thing I've noticed, and I think IDA has acknowledged this and they're spot on, that in teacher prep courses, it's just not common and as available to go through courses that are specific to learning about students with exceptionalities, such as dyslexia or dysgraphia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. There's so many areas, and so many different unique profiles for learners. And going through, I went to grad school for my teacher credential, and I only took a few credits at that time that focused on students with exceptionalities, and it's not nearly enough when you go into the classroom as a new teacher and and you're supposed to support all these different learners and their different learning needs, it's really tough not having that knowledge, not having that background knowledge.
Right, right. Which is where, IDA comes in and organizations like NIHouse come in because they go so deep into how to prepare educators and parents to service kids who have these learning differences. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about the Dallas chapter. What can parents and teachers look to gain as they join the chapter?
So I think something that is really unique about our chapter, because we're nearly 50 years old, we have so many different resources to offer to not just educators, but to students, to parents, to the community. And I'll just kind of go through a list that come to my mind. So we have our monthly um, dyslexia awareness meetings. We call them dig meetings, and
Okay.
those are to help educate not only parents, teachers, students, but it usually focuses on a topic that is, something current and interesting. We've done book studies, we've had different experts come speak about various areas, whether it was dyslexia, dysgraphia, gifted and talented, any overlap that you would have with a child or an adult that has dyslexia. We've tried to hit on that, and even like social emotional learning. So lots of topics, and we're offering through those meetings kind of a way to network with your community and others in the field, and learn more from them. And then the presenters, it's a great way to receive some continuing education credits. And we have a lot of folks that will attend every monthly meeting to keep up with their CEUs for the year. And it's a very affordable way. And that money is a donation back to IDA. Some of the other things that IDA, the Dallas branch specifically, we support with our hotline. So that we get calls from families, from teachers, from the community about, where do I go for this, or who can help me with that? And we're able to kind of be a link or a resource to support families, whether they're looking for a therapist. We can direct them to any of the directories out there that would be helpful. We also have like a lot of social media posts. We will do articles on our website. Our website's kind of a great hub for all resources related to the Dallas branch of IDA. We also have a publication called The Asset that comes out twice a year. And that was our former president, Joan Bicel, started that. And it's just another great resource to learn more about dyslexia and related areas. And we'll represent Dallas IDA at fairs and booths and do presentations in the community and simulations. We've even been invited to different companies like Frito-Lay or the FBI, and school districts as well. And that's just to help increase empathy for dyslexic learners, and then also to really spread the awareness, because there are adults in those workplaces that have dyslexia and may have gone undiagnosed. And so I think it really helps those adults identify with their kind of unique learning styles. So
Yeah,
we're
that's
really seen as
amazing.
a funnel for all of these resources in the community.
Right, right. Wow. I am just floored with the number of resources you offer. I want
Yeah.
to dig a little bit into the local ISDs. You said you work with the local independent school districts. Can you give me a few examples of how you have reached out to the local school districts and how have you worked with them in the past?
Yeah, so one of the neatest kind of relationships that I've heard of is in the past, I think it was Highland Park ISD. invited us in, and we actually presented to a group of second and third grade students to teach them more about dyslexia and what it is and how you can support others that have dyslexia. And so that was really neat to be speaking about it to kind of young students, and not necessarily students that have dyslexia.
Right.
And so that, along with doing the simulations in districts, we've done simulations where you go through different kind of rooms or different tasks, and it's really eye-opening. And it's a lot of times it's parents of dyslexic learners who are participating in these simulations, and it's incredibly eye-opening to see, wow, so this is what it's probably like for my child to write or to learn to read, or this is how difficult this task is, that, you know, maybe a different type of learner wouldn't struggle with. So those simulations are really, really neat, really eye-opening, as I've said. And then also the Dyslexia 101 presentations, I think, are always helpful to share with the community in the school districts, that maybe it's, you know, kind of a newer, I shouldn't say, yeah, exactly, because, you know, not every district is as on top of it as, you know, we would like. And so getting all of the staff to be informed more about dyslexia and what it is something that Dallas IDA has been able to share.
Wow, yeah. And every district handles the identification process very, very differently. So
Yes.
I have had experience with two different school districts here in the Houston area, and both of them are poles apart. So one of the districts is it's very centralized, you know, all the dyslexia therapists have this common community, their testing processes are similar, they're trained together, while the other district, it's very scattered in the sense that it depends on the school principal and the policies that they make, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot depends on the local school to kind of identify, okay, well, this is a child that truly needs testing, and then they go out look for, you know, whatever resources exist out there. So it's nice that ISDs are opening their doors and in, you know, kind of educating the educators to be on the
Yes.
lookout for the signs of learning disabilities or dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
um, I want to talk about one of the resources that you offer is the regional conference. I want to talk about that for a little bit. What is what do you do in that conference? It's a yearly conference that you offer. There's a lot that goes on. Can you kind of pull the curtain and show me what is it that you offer through that conference to the local chapter and anybody who wants to attend?
Yeah, so our regional conference is probably one of our biggest endeavors each year. And it is highlighting top-notch speakers. And when I say top-notch speakers, I'm talking about some big names like Fumiko Hoff. You know, these are people nationally recognized. And so we get these speakers in for the day, and it's a long, really engaging, exciting day of learning. And typically our conference has taken place at the Renaissance Hotel in Richardson. And so, you know, it's a full day of sessions and a plated lunch, and, you know, it's a very nice planned event. And we're just spreading awareness, and typically, like, we'll have a lot of certified academic language therapists attend the conference, as well as evaluators, speech pathologists, and then also general education teachers, classroom teachers who are wanting to learn more about the topics that are, you know, they're always, the theme is always related to dyslexia, but, you know, it might be more focused on some social emotional learning. It might talk about equity and inclusiveness. And so we we have just really great speakers, and we're able to put on some really excellent continuing education for the community. And we'll get people coming from a very far distance. So last year, unfortunately, our conference was held virtually. And it's still, I probably shouldn't say unfortunately, because it worked well, where we had a lot of people attending kind of from all over, which
Right.
you might not see at our regional in-person conference typically, because, you know, it's typically drawing in people from Dallas or the DFW area, or our region. So that was kind of exciting to see a lot of new faces from outside of our region being able to attend virtually. But it's a great
Yes.
learning experience.
I think it opens doors to the entire world to learn about, dyslexia. I would imagine that you put this information about the conference on your website, so I would encourage people to go check it out.
Yes.
If you choose to do it virtually again, I think it would be a great opportunity. And I'm assuming there's a lot of hands-on activities also that presenters offer during the conference, right? In addition to the support group that you talked about, the local support group for parents and teachers. A lot of times you go to a conference and you get really hands-on activities in terms of how to um, kind of basically teach kids how to read.
Mhm.
And that's what I live for, as a,
Yeah.
the teacher in me. That's what I want to walk, because anything that is successful with students with dyslexia is also successful for the other kids, right? So
Mhm.
that structured approach works just as well for the general ed classroom. um, you do a lot for teachers as well, and I want to talk a little bit about the Excellence in Education nomination. Can you tell me a little bit more? How does the process for that work? And if somebody's looking to nominate a teacher, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I think the nomination just happens at some point around maybe December, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it's just addressed on our Dallas branch IDA website, or you might see a social media post on our Instagram or our Facebook accounts. And really, it'll just be a call for nominations for teachers that have, or I should say, educators or people involved in the field that have really gone above and beyond and showed kind of the best way to support students or to help other educators. It's a mission that is, near and dear to so many of our hearts, and so that it's great to be able to honor someone each year with that Excellence in Education Award. And we've had past winners, to name a few: Nancy Disterlick
Wow.
from Region 10. We've had Michelle Brown from Dallas ISD. She is the director of special education for Dallas ISD. And so these are people that have they've just gone above and beyond in the field to make changes and to support students with dyslexia.
Awesome, awesome. And you support students as well with scholarships. Can you talk a little bit about
Yes.
that? Like, how can people
Okay.
access scholarships?
So on our website as well, you can apply for the scholarships. But when we say students, we're not just talking about young learners. We're actually talking about even adult learners with dyslexia are included in that. And I think just recently we finally had our first adult dyslexic learner was awarded a scholarship through
Wow.
that fund. So that was really exciting to see, because it's not as typical that an adult has the time or is able to apply for this scholarship. So we're there to support students, whether you're young or older, and you can receive therapy that way. And so
Yes.
it's a really great scholarship.
Yes, yes. And then there's the annual art contest, which is
Yes,
amazing, celebrating dyslexia. Tell me about that one.
I know. So we do so much at the
Yes.
Dallas IDA branch. The art contest is actually part of our conference, we honor the art contest winner, and we'll also display the artwork of the submissions. And in turn, then the board of the Dallas IDA branch votes for the art contest winner. And I think this started back around 2006 when Pam Quarterman was president of the Dallas branch. And my guess is that it was probably created as a way for all of these dyslexic learners. So many of them are creatives, and this is such a great outlet for these students to shine. And so my guess is that it could really highlight these students and their strength. And we've even featured some of the art contest winners on the asset on the publication, on the cover, and then also they're featured typically on the cover of our brochure or our program at the conference, the regional conference. So
Wow,
it's
I
a
think
big
this
deal
is,
for these
yeah,
kids.
it is. It is. And I think there's a very important message in there that kids are more than just the diagnosis of dyslexia, right? There's so many more strengths that these kids bring to us. Just that's more than just the disability of not being able to read, right?
Yes.
So, and I think that that art contest goes right into bring out the strengths, bring out,
Yeah,
bring
I
out the line. What's more, it's the whole individual that matters. It's not just
Yeah,
that
I
one
think you said
disability.
it really well, Sandy. Yeah, it's the whole individual, and it's not just this diagnosis or this label of dyslexia or reading difficulty. Um, it is these kids have interests, and some of their interests they are really good at, and they're very creative. And
Yes.
so it's really fun to see their artwork, and some of it's like, my gosh, I hope we sell it, because
Yes.
or include it in our raffle or our drawing that we do at the conference, because some of it's really good stuff.
Awesome. And I want to say that most dyslexic learners are great out of the box thinkers. So they are
Yes.
very, very bright. If you would just to unlock that ability to read, which can be done through structured therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them are very successful. So I know you said that the Dallas chapter is primarily supported by volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the ways to get involved with the chapter, whether that be through volunteering or other resources?
So there's always subcommittees that are looking for volunteers. And I'm trying to think off of the top of my head what type of volunteer roles that might be. Even for our conference, we could use volunteer support, or social media, someone to support with Facebook or Instagram. There's a lot of different opportunities for volunteering. Right now, we have a really involved volunteer who is supporting our speaker committee for the conference. And this individual is reaching out to different speakers, getting contracts signed,
Wow.
pitching the conference, and getting them to join our speaker lineup for this conference. And then our following year, our I think we're even working on 2023, which is our 72nd annual year as the Dallas branch, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. So
Wow.
yeah, so volunteers are so helpful. Sometimes volunteers even end up turning into board members, because they get so involved, and they enjoy networking with everyone on the board, and everyone that supports the Dallas IDA branch. And it's a really fun place to get to meet people that have kind of like this like-minded passion
Right.
for the work that we all do.
Right. Right. So I want to I want to ask you. I'm tempted to ask. Do you have a success story from your own classroom that you can share?
Oh gosh, well,
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I think it what I want to say is that there's a big difference between being a new teacher and not knowing what are the resources, how to structure literacy to unlock the key behind, kids with learning disability and dyslexia. You have, obviously gone through the CALT program. You're certified. You're a therapist. The process, how it works. How the structured layer works one on top of the other, and
Hmm.
obviously it makes I know for me personally, it made a big difference once I had gone through Naya House and uh, introduced that in my classroom.
Yeah.
So the meaning behind the question really is that how do you see success translate in the classroom now that you have shifted, to this structured approach and follow it with kids who have disabilities?
So actually, my favorite success story, it's happened recently. So I'm in private practice for myself as an evaluator for dyslexia and dysgraphia, and then I also provide therapy to students. And just this past spring, I started working with a little kiddo who is pre-K,
Oh,
so
wow.
very little,
Hmm.
and he's he's a little bit older for his age, but he's going into kinder this year as a 6-year old. And unfortunately, the family was paying a lot of tuition and had him in a private school, and he wasn't learning. So he wasn't learning his letters, the names of the letters, or the sounds. And he even had a tutor on top of his private school tuition. And the difference though is the tutor wasn't trained in an Orton Gillingham approach or structured literacy, and so he wasn't improving from the tutoring. And thankfully the tutor said, I think dyslexia is going on here and something's up. And the mom ended up getting my contact information, and I started working with him, providing the therapy. And in a matter of 3 sessions, you could see the confidence on his face and his actions in our sessions. It was night and day. And even him now going into the classroom starting this year as a kindergartner and knowing his letters now. And is he 100% secure with his letters? No, but he has a great strategy of going back to his alphabet mat that he's received the therapy on, and he will go back and be able to recognize the letter. And so I think that he's my favorite success story right now, just because he's improved so much, and I know that he'll do so well in the right type of learning environment for him. And so now he's attending a school that supports structured literacy. So I'm so excited to see
Yes.
how much growth he'll make this year. But really, I think the key to your question is students and their really just how they feel about themselves and their
Yes.
confidence. And you can see what a difference it makes if they're learning in a systematic way that is appealing to all of their senses, if it's visual, kinesthetic, tactile, all those Orton Gillingham and structured literacy approaches. If the student's learning that way, you definitely see a difference and
Yes.
great
Yes.
on their confidence. And
Yes, indeed, indeed. The self-esteem, it makes a huge difference to their self-esteem. And you mentioned the multisensory approach. It's not
mhm,
just me repeating till I'm blue in my face trying to teach you the letters, right? There's the kinesthetic, there's the auditory, there's the tactile, everything all coming together, which makes a huge difference.
yes.
Um, Last question. What has been the most rewarding moment for you as a member of the IDA Dallas chapter?
I think for me, it's just been being able to network with a group of people that are, so invested in a cause that I am too, and to really support students and families, parents, educators to really try and change the trajectory of our community and what's happening. I think that for me has been, something that's very memorable, and it's kind of like, I feel like I found my tribe here, or like these are my people, because we were in a meeting once and the president made a joke about gosh, it was some joke where she referred to one of the spelling rules that we've all learned in our programs, and I start laughing out loud, and I'm like, okay, that was not that funny, but someone that's a therapist or trained in structured literacy or would only find that funny. And so I just think it's a great place to network and a great place to spread awareness about this cause and to support individuals with dyslexia.
Yes, yes. It's amazing. Samantha, I want to thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me and my listeners about the IDA Dallas chapter. Hopefully, we can have you back in another podcast about another topic, but it's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Yes, I would love to come back. Thank you so much, Sandia.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Education Redefined. We welcome feedback. Join our Facebook group to leave a comment or a question. We look forward to hearing from you. Until then, stay tuned for our next episode.